Everybody, welcome back with the Plat and the Laliette. Welcome to the greatest Bazaar podcast you have ever heard of. It is a little bit late this week. Laliette has family, and honestly, I haven't been playing the game enough to make a video myself. So we're gonna talk about. We got a list of things we want to talk about. We got two perspectives here. Normally we're pretty in line, but I think this one will be a little more diverse as Laliette has been playing it a lot. And I honestly have had so little fun that I've only played about 5 games in the last week and a half. So, Laliette, how has your week in the Bazaar been?
It's been really good. So I have made like plus 1,000 gems over the last week and moved up like, I don't know, 600, 800 spots on the legend leaderboard. I've also been enjoying playing normals for the purpose of trying to play things that are not good, right? So I go into a normal and I just pick something that I would never play and I just try my best to get 10 wins. And I can probably only do that 1 out of 3 times, but I found that it's just very enjoyable to give myself that challenge.
Yeah, I'd agree. Last time I played normal was just before the patch, I think, or right after the patch. I played several games. I ended up farming up like 4 tickets, but it probably took me about like 12-ish games, somewhere between 9 and 12 games to get it. So similar win rate. And it was all just like non-pig characters. I'm like, I'm just gonna play Vanessa. It was fun. And that's actually a big part of what I like about the game is, you know what? It's fun. When you're not hyper focused on whatever, like these little issues and the balance issues, like you could just log, like Northern Lion is my favorite YouTuber in the world. He started playing this game almost after this patch. Like he played like the day before the patch came out and now he's playing it. He doesn't even know that there's patch notes. He just plays the game and he has fun. And I'm like, yes, that's what I need to focus on, is just having a good time. Um, but as someone that likes to play Pygmalion, he's rough right now. All right. He was arguably the worst character before the patch. I think a lot of people would say that. I don't know. I think he was still competitive enough where it didn't matter. After this patch, I mean, I don't even know why he's in the game right now. There's like, I feel like 1 out of 10 pig runs are strong enough to compete with the other, 9 out of 10 runs of the Vanessas and the Dualies. So let's touch a little bit on the balance. We're not going to go over it because everyone probably knows it by now. But what were some of like the big highlight changes? We have this massive text wall here, but not all of these are created equally.
Yeah, so we had the start of the run. Now you get 4 items, right? And they also added a bunch of items to the pool. That's been really fun. I've liked starting with things like trebuchet, or well, large items, right? We used to not be able to start with large items. Now we can. Things like beast of burden. It's definitely expanded the novelty of playing the game. And I even had like in normal, I had a cove run and I showed him I got a diamond, right? 10 wins in a row, starting with Cove, and just like I planned on econing, and then it just turned into me using Cove until I could put together a trebuchet build.
That's like really cool. I think they expanded it. I'm sure there's not like an item per item rule. I'm sure it's like a general rule that it's all items that have bronze versions can now show up at the start of the run. Before it excluded large items. Now it probably just doesn't exclude large items. But I don't think you can get any items that start at silver, right? Like I don't think I can get a Matchbox's pig, even though I think that would be totally fair. Like it's a weak ass item. It's a strong ass item on a character that can't use it. So yeah, because like I'm thinking about ATM, Beast of Burden, Dog. They all have bronze versions, so that must be the rule,
I,
which is
I
cool.
think you nailed it.
I love getting expanded starting item pools. It's like the large items are a questionable decision. I think they didn't have it because they sell for so much, right? That was the reason why they didn't have them initially. And now they're like, you know what? It's still more fun. It just expands the pools, adds build diversity. It gives new players more people that are going to see something and go like, oh, I'm going to go dog this whole run no matter what. Let's go. It gives them a little bit more things to latch onto as well.
Also,
Else?
1 more gold. Do we really care about selling for 1 more gold?
No, not at all. Especially like, yeah, it's just overall, it's just a better experience. I think it's more fun. I like seeing more items. It does decrease the amount of times I see the item I want. Like I want to see ATM, I want to see Regal Blade. But still, most of the items, at least on Pygmalion, that they've added are of high quality. So they're usually, because right now, like the pool was like, oh yeah, I got silver brass knuckles, I got silver silk, Not silk. The silk is fine. The other one, textiles. I'm just like, there's so many bad items in there. Oh my god. So they added a bunch of reasonable items. So what are the other big ones? Is it the level up is the big one, or is there anything else bigger than that?
I don't know. Some people would say no longer getting a skill is pretty big.
Yeah.
So, that definitely matters. If they ever, I love the change. If they ever bring skills back, I would want it to be bronze, because it used to feel like if you got a skill that either was bad, which Pygmalion, outside of the really strong ones he had a lot of bad ones.
Yes.
And if you can't utilize it, right? So you get like +8 to your burn, but you don't see burn, then you lose to the person who does who has the ability to use their 12 gold worth skill, and you can't. So I'm glad that that's out of the game.
I agree, because what I found myself doing, if I did something, I mean, Pig doesn't have burn, but let's say I did play someone like Vanessa who had like burn or poison, and it's like, oh, +8 poison on my leftmost poison item. All right, I'm gonna go to a shop and get a poison item. So I end up spending all my resources to try to find that first poison item, and sometimes you just don't get it. And now it's like, well, I wasted this whole day doing nothing, bro. But the other hand, I would like them to bring back bronze skills, because I think they're weak enough to be interesting. They're not so powerful they're going to define your run, but they have a little bit of bonus. But it's more like, I'm not going to dedicate my whole day to getting an extra 2 poison on something. But at the same time, I do think it adds value to the bronze skill merchant, because now maybe you can make it silver, because right now, like, I think they're going to struggle to find a bronze skill merchant worthwhile to go to. So I think actually adding things like this, like starting bronze skills or other maybe mechanics that give you a reason to want bronze skills, would be really smart, because right now it feels like a useless merchant.
Yeah, right. Unless you're playing burn or poison and you're just trying to get a burn or poison item.
Yeah, then but yeah, +3 damage on my weapons. Ooh.
Listen, that matters a lot when you're playing poison dually.
I believe you.
All right. So, yes, the level up. Why don't you go over the level ups? Because you have some opinions about the level ups.
Yeah. So just to read it, level up 5 is no longer an upgrade, but tier restricted general. Okay, this is no longer an upgrade. Then I guess it's a comma. But tier restricted general upgrades have been added to all level ups. So basically, they got rid of the free upgrade on 5. That's okay. That's probably fair. That doesn't bug me at all. Although it could be a little sad to not start with basically a diamond item, I'll admit, because sometimes you got lucky, you got 2 silvers, made it gold, but whatever. This is probably fair. The tier restricted general upgrades being added to all level ups, this is like the cinders, the sharpening stones, the whatever poison one is called, I don't even remember.
No, that's not what this is.
That's not what this one is?
No, this one is the ability to just get.
This is the ability to upgrade. Yeah, you know what? I think this is a 10 out of 10 positive change, actually. I love this one. I love things that are upgrade your leftmost bronze item, upgrade your leftmost silver item as you level up, because that it's a hard restriction. You're not going to get diamond crook right away on day 2 or day 3, but you still get the feeling of upgrading your relatively weak items. Some items it's good on, and most items, bronze to silver is not the biggest deal, but getting it on like a weights on a Ganjo, those are all pretty good. But sometimes, like, you know what, I'll put it on the money tree. Now my money tree is a little bit better. It gives me a little bit more money when I like I like those feelings. What's the other one here? The other one is I don't even see it here on the list.
I don't know where it is, but we can just talk about it because we know what it is. And yeah,
it's basically you are able to get, when you level up, they'll be like, get 2 items, and it'll be 2 cinders, 2 sharpening stones, and their rarity is based on, I think, the day you are on.
Yes, and your level. I think,
your level.
Actually,
okay.
I'm sorry, I lied to you earlier. But they're called monster loots.
Monster loots. Okay, and these are just, I think, in my opinion, the worst change to the game. I think they are too strong and too targeted. Before, when you had levels up, like, you would be able to get, like, okay, for each weapon you have, get a strength. It's like, oh, now your weapons get like +5 stuff, and that would like potentially be better. And then it's like, oh, all your burn items get 1 burn. Your leftmost burn item gets +1 burn per level or whatever, so maybe get 2 or 3 burn or something in the early game. But now it's like you just get like 2 items that are targeted. It's like you just get 4, 6, 8 burn depending on the level. Same with poison. You're getting like, so one of the issues with a lot of like when I was playing dually, like a lot of like his poison items, like the monitor lizard and stuff. I was like, I have no way to get poison on this motherfucking thing. Like when I'm playing the game, I was like, it was never getting any stronger. So it's like you had to get skills or you had to get these the level up effects. But now it's like this level up effect is so strong. I just feel like all these items got super boosted to the moon. And the big reason that I probably feel it's stronger than most people is these items aren't created equal. The flat damage is good, but it's like whatever, it's relatively balanced. The poison and the burn are absurdly powerful because every point on them is way more than the previous point. It's like a bell curve, not a bell curve. It's like a parabola, right? It's like you get like insane amounts of power and then you hit a point where it's like it's not as much anymore. But like going from 10 to 15 burn is an insane boost. And then there's like the heal ones that are just like in the heal ones and the shield ones are fine, but they're like but the issue is like with Pig, the only two we can't use are the burn and the poison, the two OP ones. So he could use like the balanced ones and the bad ones. And so every character that's not Pig just got a massive buff, and he got kicked in the nuts basically. And as a Pig player, I've been kicked in the nuts many times this last week. What do you have to add to that, Lolly? What am I right and wrong about?
One of the first things I told you when the patch went live is I was like, they got to get rid of the poison and burn ones. I was like, these are way too strong. And that was when Pufferfish was in. And I was playing Monitor Lizard. And there are people who are like, Pufferfish was so broken, blah, blah, blah. It was, but like, there's so many people playing it that most of the people who are able to play it on the broken, like insta-freeze, frozen Pufferfish stuff, that's not what the general ladder looked like. I was beating the crap out of them with Monitor Lizard because Monitor Lizard is just faster.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the freeze stuff, Monitor Lizard just punches.
Is he still a trigger ability or is he an active as well?
So Pufferfish, not Pufferfish, Monitor Lizard was missed. He's a trigger. He will not be a trigger in the future.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So like, as soon as I saw he was a trigger, I was like, this is all I'm playing. Like, it's just better than Pufferfish. Unless you ultra high roll, but I don't care about that. I want to, on average, get a lot of wins. So they will be fixing that possibly tomorrow in the patch. We don't really know, but that will be turned into a whatever you call it, a charge effect, right? And it will get immediately worse. So I don't know if with that change and with the Pufferfish change, I don't think burn and poison are actually super abusive, but because Pig can't take advantage of how strong they are, because they are very strong, I think you have to get rid of them. You got to nix those two from the level up rewards so that Pig doesn't feel bad because he's not taking advantage of a very strong mechanic.
I mean, what does he get instead of that? Like those are probably still, even if they're not broken OP, which they feel broken OP, they seem to be objectively the strongest rewards for anyone even dabbling in those style of builds. And Pig just, one, he doesn't drop them because he can't use them, but he doesn't have anything to replace them really. He's not like, because he has a smaller level up pool potentially, it's like, oh, it means he has a higher chance to get the high roll ones, but those are the high roll ones. The two he doesn't have access to are like the high roll ones. So, and yeah, so it's just a bit rough. I mean, maybe with Pig you get more HP now, but the issue with HP is not very good against burn and poison. It's fine, but those are things that continuously stack over the course. So if you have 15,000 HP and no way to kill them, you're going to lose no matter what, because their damage eventually goes to infinity, essentially, and yours HP doesn't. So yeah, it's a really rough spot, basically, because I don't know. Like you said, I think they should remove them because Pig doesn't have them. And I think every character they release from now going forward will have either burn or poison on them. I think Pig is like their no burn or poison. Right, Mac is going to have poison. The tool chick is going to have burn. The character after that may not have burn, whatever. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll have both burn and poison, but they won't have freeze or something. You know, they're gonna. Every character is going to have a huge blind spot. And I think Pig's blind spot is the poison and burn. So, yeah, it just at least got to make it stronger or like way weaker. But I don't think it's worth nerfing every burn and poison item in the game just because these level up things exist. I think that this is the problem, not the items or mechanics themselves, because I think burn and poison are fair mechanics. It just, the number getting too high too fast is not the same as the weapon. Like Beast of Burden being at 1,000 attack on a couple days in is not the same as fire being at 50. You know, like those aren't the same values. Anyway.
Yeah. So two other changes that I wanted to just point out for like why Pig feels bad is Pole and Orion spawn 2 days later now. So instead of spawning
Yes.
on day 2 for Orion, you spawn on day 4, which really punishes people who want to play Crook, right? And then Pole no longer spawns on day 3; he spawns on day 5, which really hurts everything else that Pig really does.
That's like not being able to. You can get large items before then, but it's like Pig is so large item centric, and for so many of his builds, um, like you could like there's of course the medium item build, but that means you have Crook. There are ways to get around, you could use like a shield build with ATM and ship in a bottle, and like there's builds, but like so many of his like actual defining characteristics, HP Pig, weapon scaling Pig, shield Pig, heal Pig, property Pig, these are all based around large items. All of them have core identities tied up in large items. And so not being able to find any of them for so long, it just feels like rough. Also, they took out the haste and charge trainer for Pygmalion. That makes sense, but that hurts, bro. I really liked finding that item all the time. That skill all the time. But yeah,
Yeah.
Pig he was probably the worst character, and they really hit him hard again. and like nothing here, this doesn't say Pygmalion, this is for everybody, right? A lot of these general nerfs, this doesn't mention Pygmalion, but a lot of these general mechanics really affect him harder than it affects anyone else.
Yes, and originally Pig was Bees was supposed to be in the patch for him, but then there was a bug with Bees, so they had to take it out in a hotfix, which made him additionally weaker. So, one thing I did want to say is I think getting rid of the rerolls on the specialized shops, which is any shop that could give you a an item that could be enchanted or Pole and Orion. So like those are the shops that no longer reroll. I think that was enough of a nerf, and you didn't need to move them 2 days forward, right? I think we can put them back where they were, because now you're kind of taking a gamble with your early days where you're like, okay, with Pig specifically, and I mean obviously with other people there's different maths, but with Pig specifically, like you only have a 50% chance to hit something that you're really excited to start the day with, right? On day 2 and 3. So like you're going to go there anyway, but when you miss, you're going to be punished, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because Pole is not the same for Vanessa as it is for Pygmalion. Pygmalion has a lot of large items. I mean, it's like you're not even likely to find the item you want. If you want to find Landscraper, you're not gonna, there's easily 6 other items that could be there besides Landscraper. Whereas Vanessa, I feel like is a much smaller pool of large items in general, right? Or is it similar?
Well,
sorry, continue.
no, there's way less. But on day 2, you're only really seeing mostly bronze items for large, right? So it's like, what bronze items for large in Pig are you just ecstatic in getting?
Yeah, there's literally none. The best, like, because here's what you get. Here's large bronze items that I could think of at the top of my head. Beast of Burden, not very good at bronze. Money Tree, not very good at bronze. And that like might be
Fixer Upper.
Which one?
Fixer Upper.
Fixer Upper, yeah, and that item does count, I guess, but it's not for long. I love Fixer Upper. I would love to find Fixer Upper every run and then sell it probably, but it's there's really not much, because once you get the silver, you get a lot bigger selection.
Yeah, the hit is what do you call it? The hit is Fixer Upper. So I don't really care if you don't have it on day 2, but really on day 3 and 4, I feel like Pig needs it, and if Pig needs it, then you have to do the same thing for everyone, because that's just how Raynad likes to have the game, make sense that way. And honestly, Poor got hit, right? And you can start with Trebuchet. So like maybe it's day 4 is where Pole goes, and day 2 is where Orion goes. I don't really know for sure, but they can at the very least, be day 3 and 4, right? Like roll it back one more day. I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, like I don't even feel like Orion is that strong on Pig anyway, so this doesn't feel like it affected him that much. I mean, it will hurt your ability to get weights, but like Pig has a lot of bad tools, not a lot of good tools. Because mostly when you go to Orion, what you get every time you go? You get Hatchet. Every single time you get Hatchet. So yeah, but overall, I support specialized shops being harder to come by, but I don't know. If you can't change it per character, I do think you need to make large items a little more consistent. Plus, I feel like a large item is not the same as a specialized shop. Like the medium item or the small is Andy a specialized? Like I guess they're not specialized in that technical
No,
sense because they don't sell
small,
shielded
medium are
items, but
not considered specialized. Yeah.
they should all be re-rollable, I think, in general. But it's not that big of a deal, I suppose, at that point. I just want to be able to see them a little bit earlier because as a pig player, if I don't get any large items, I am making do, especially with bees gone. Oh my god. Oh man, he's got nothing going for him right now. Although he's got some stuff, but it just what's powerful out there. I feel like the whole power level of the game is higher right now than it ever has been. And besides the first patch with the skyscraper stuff, because that was so absurd. Whereas like 1.8 seconds, 40,000 damage. Yes, that was absurd. But outside of that, like nerfing that, I think this is the highest power level the game has been at. And I'd like to see it overall come down as well.
I'm a big fan of the no rerolls on the specialized shops, but I want the shops to still be available. What I think that does is it makes you make do out of the 3 options you're given, right? Which still has a drafting effect, but it doesn't allow you to like strongly target whatever is the broken build in the meta. Now
Yeah.
we have one more thing I think that I wanted to cover here. They supposedly changed to have slightly more consistent scaling on things and move things to be scaling in battle instead of out of battle more, right? So it kind of toned down. Like Beast of Burden's not quite as strong as it used to be, and
True.
neither is Regal Blade. And I think that's good. And there's a lot of items in probably not so much Pig that scale now in battle a little faster. And
Yeah, it's
there's a
kind of
ridiculously long line of things where they either like change the damage a little bit or change the number of seconds. And we're not going to go through all that.
that's kind of funny because one of Pig's defining characteristics as well is outside of combat scaling, right? Buying, selling, getting, even like money tree. And so to nerf that mechanic as well to an extent is it's something again, it's just I there is a bit of a straw that broke the camel's back. Like it's not that any one of these made Pig weak. It's that like it's he was already kind of in a little bit of a rough spot, and then it's like these just a bunch of things made him weaker. But so I think there's a lot of like 1,000 cuts situations, but I do think the level up benefiting the other people so much is probably the biggest one overall.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about the balance that
So,
we want to go over?
well, I just wanted to cover the Monster Ranch as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
which
yeah.
this
You're right. You're
once
right.
again is a little bit of a pain in the ass. It's up above this. It's in its own line, yeah. So this also kind of just benefits the other 2 people other than Pig, right? So monster loot does include, for example, any of the lootable items that you can only really get from monsters. So it's like the 5% crit, the 4 shield, and of course the rarities go up. The 3
Can you can you
damage,
get like the
the 1
Lich's
point,
book and stuff, or is it like their
1
unique
burn.
items are
No,
locked? Okay.
just those unique ones that we're talking about. I think I just covered almost all of them, other than the free money, right? The pelt.
Hmm.
So those are the kind of things they're getting. And if you notice, 2 of those are poison and burn. And Pig can still get those, even though they're almost useless. So we added 1 extra way for the other people to get golden early, early, early. You can get this day 1. It's like 70 or 80% of the time. It's an event. You go in, first spot for free. You get 2 bronze loot items. Or for 4 gold, you get 2 silver ones, and for 8 gold, you get 2 gold ones. You always save your gold so that you can buy the gold one, especially if you're playing poison or burn, because that's plus 8 poison, plus 6 poison or plus 8 burn on day 1 that you can put on your poison or burn item. That's broke.
Yeah, I mean that's like
And
getting
it
the
sells
skill.
back for the price you pay. So you pay 8 gold to get them, you get that huge buff, and you get your 8 gold back when you sell them.
That's like literally getting a gold skill, like you said, basically. And if you can
On
high
day
roll and
1.
get you can high roll and get both of them, right? They could both be
Yes, you can
good
high roll
pulls.
and get both of them. Now you're not guaranteed it by
Yeah,
any means, but
that's
like
that's unlikely,
they're
but
they're like, and they got rid of a couple of them. You're gonna see when we go up above to like they had to take feather out because cooldown reduction is way too good. They had to take crit out because crit is way too good.
it was like
So with those
10%
2
crit
out,
like right away too. I feel like it was like super high,
15,
15%.
15.
That's
Yeah.
so
Um,
absurd.
I had an early run on the first day where on day 1 and day 2, I got lucky and got 3 out of the 4 were crits. So I had plus 45% crit on whatever my weapon was
That's
on
like
day 2.
that's insane. That's just
Yeah.
double damage, pretty well, not quite, but it, it's getting there. Yeah, that's that feels like an oversight to just make it like there's no way that they planned for it to cost 8 and then to sell back for 8. Maybe they did, but I don't know if they were thinking about that past just putting something new in the game. They probably should cost like 16 gold, right? Like it should probably cost almost double, where it's impossible to afford it on day 1. Um,
They
unless
probably
you,
just shouldn't offer it on day 1 and 2. Like, you
yeah,
know what I mean? And I know I was talking about how I want the shops rolled back to earlier days, but this event does not need to be on early days. And I'm fine, like, maybe you can't get gold. Silver ones are not as ridiculous, right?
yeah.
But even if they keep the silver and the bronze option,
They
just
should
please,
they should all come
day
with an
1, day 2
actual
is too
gold
much.
cost though, right? Like they could either make it so these items sell for 0, which I don't think is a good, like that's too much of a core change to the game for an event. Um, but just make them cost more or something. You shouldn't be neutral gold at the end of it. You're getting a buff and you're buying items. And if you're like, there's characters that care about buying and selling stuff for different things, it should just cost a bit more probably, right?
Yeah, so I think I don't really know exactly what they do. I'm not the balance guy. I try my best to figure out things, but this has a lot of ways you can go. Needs to be toned down a little bit, little too strong,
Yeah.
a little too
Um,
early.
I'm kind of torn because sometimes, like, when you offer, like, hey, this thing is busted, some people are like, well, give them potential solutions. You got to tell them how to fix it. And then other people are like, quit telling them how to do their jobs. Just let them know what's broken and they'll fix it. So, like, I don't know. That's why it's like, I want to give you some ideas, maybe, but like, don't listen to anything I actually say. Like, it's not my job. My job is to play the game. It's not my job, but I play the game and then I'm like, hey, this feels bad. And they're like, why does it feel bad? I'm like, because it sucks. That's why. You figure it out. I'll let you know when it doesn't feel bad anymore,
And this connects to something Raynad said in his Q&A, right, which we'll be covering in more detail in a bit. But he said that um, the community doesn't understand balance and they have horrible balance ideas. He comes back the next day and he says, you know what, I was kind of being a jerk in that first Q&A. A better statement and a more accurate statement would be, the player base is really good at figuring out issues, not so good at solving them.
Yeah,
And I was like, you're
I
right.
agree.
You're absolutely right. We're really good at being like, this feels wrong. We know there's a problem here and it needs to be weaker or whatever, but we don't always have great ideas. And some people have great ideas, don't get me wrong. But most of the time, the ideas just kind of that I see on Reddit or whatever, I'm like, you're just not even really thinking about the repercussions of your actions, right?
Yeah, so like getting balance ideas from a community is very valuable in the aspect that you will find a through line of where the issues are. You will not find a you will not usually find a consensus on good solutions. Even if you see people like, oh, here's a consensus, we should all do this. Everyone agrees to do this. It doesn't make it a good idea. Usually people are not game designers, not system developers. They're not thinking about the knock-on effect of this affects this, affects this, affects this. But it is perfect for us. You talk to 10,000 people playing your game. If 50-60% of them have a similar issue, there's a great chance that is a real thing you have to address, just not in the way they want you to. Now it's different when you're listening to someone like this is a different genre, but like Rax is a guy that plays Diablo and Path of Exile. Like, he offers solutions and he also has tens of thousands of hours in these games across multiple genres. Typically he has a higher quality opinion than someone that's like, just buff all the drop rates, you dummy. So
Well,
yeah,
I do want to say this. When it comes to changes, like, you can go back and watch the other podcasts. All of the podcasts say analyzing, I believe, at the beginning of the title.
they do. I
And
felt like that's a good, it's a good hook.
yeah, this is the Analyzing Bazaar podcast, obviously. So we have been right, or I don't know about right, but we have the changes that they have made that we recommended have generally been good changes. They don't always make the changes that we recommend, so we can't really say anything about those ones. But
Yeah.
we've been pretty fortunate, and I think we both have a lot of experience in strategy games, and we also are willing to read a bunch of people's opinions and then use critical thinking to kind of like be like, "Ooh, that guy had a better idea than me. I'm going to change my mind." You're way more likely to be right if you're willing to change your mind. If whatever your first idea was, you're sticking with it. I got bad news for you. That's probably not the right idea.
Yeah, it just, what are the chances the guys who made everything that's been successful in the history of the world wasn't right the first time, that, yeah, you'd have to refine your ideas. That's all. Because a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I don't know, maybe they should just give Pig Regal Blade back, make it twice as strong. That'll make him make Regal Blade start at diamond and be guaranteed you always get it. Hey, look at that, the meta's shifted. Pygmalion's good again. I told you. But you gotta look at the step two, the a couple steps down of that as well. All
Yeah.
right,
So the general patch goals we're gonna skip because half of them we missed the mark on, right? Because of some of the things we've already talked about, and the other half we've already kind of covered the things like we want to reduce early game variance. We did. Pig is bad all the time. The other ones are good all the time in early game, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Raynad did a stream, right? He did a Q&A stream.
You sure did. So we're gonna leave for you the fix things. Pufferfish is probably the only one we really have to cover that that was removed. So that's pretty important. Pufferfish was kind of bananas. We'll see what they do when they return it to the game. All the rest of the stuff was broken, just like not working as intended, or just way too good. Snowflake was changed to when you sell it, enchant your leftmost item with freeze. Way too good. So I guess that covers those issues.
Do you think they should add two versions of Snowflake that do different things in the game? One of them will be the conservative Snowflake, and one of them will be the liberal Snowflake. And they have different versions of doing the same thing. One of them will make it deal more freeze damage to a single target. One of them will make it so they could target more things with freeze.
I wish there was like 100 snowflakes, right? If you could do that design space, so it feels kind of like every snowflake is different. But you could never get away with that. But like increase the time of freeze, increase the number of targets of freeze, increase the damage of freeze. Like these are cool ideas. Like I would love to see as many as is like feasible.
I think that'd be fun. All right, I'm sorry. So continue with what you were saying.
Oh, and the only way to really get it was from Frost Street Champions. So it's like,
Wasn't that one really easy to beat also, Frost Street Champion? Or is this the big one, like the day 10 plus?
This is the big one.
Okay, so he's the one with Glacier. Yeah, I never had that much of an issue with him because he doesn't deal that much damage. And the Sandstorm being strong, like, just kind of killed him. But, I mean, I bet there's certain builds that were pretty rough. He was pretty rough against. Glacier could be pretty strong. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about the patch again. I just haven't played as much this time than I have in previous patches, just because Pig is so weak. I just genuinely wasn't having fun, and I'm probably not going to play again until they do another patch. And that's partially because
tomorrow.
That's partially because my main YouTube channel has had another game come out, and I've been covering that. Path of Exile 2 also came out, so I've been playing that. So I've dedicated my free time different directions. There's two games I desperately want to play right now. I didn't want to spend time not having fun just for the sake of the YouTube channel. But I am still in love with the game. All right, I'm still gonna keep playing it. I just want to see a little bit more of a mix up so I could jump back into it and have a great time.
Yeah, and also his videos on that gotcha about girls that are sexually provocative, popping off. So go over and check out his other channel if you like that kind of stuff. If you don't, stay here. All right, this is still go subscribe.
Girls Frontline
it helps
2
them out.
made a appearance on Asmongold's channel. Yeah, I'll admit there was no gameplay in that video. It was just them trying to look up girls' skirts, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And I'm like, "Okay, first of all, I didn't even know that there was unique animations for if you paid for the skins. Okay, I didn't know that. It's a Coomer game. It's a game for gooners, I guess. But it's girls with XCOM. It's a really fun game. But yeah. Cross promotion
Still
over.
a tactic strategy game at
Yes.
the base, right? We don't pay attention to the sexualized girls. All right.
Oh,
Um,
breaching. Yeah,
So,
breaching.
so go ahead and start us off on the talk about the first Q and well, really just both Q and A's. We're kind of combining them in. The important part is just that in the first Q and A, who's kind of condescending and didn't really, care about other people's opinions. And in the second one, he was a lot more professional and well thought. I think he just wasn't prepared for the Q and A, and he's been getting a lot of negativity everywhere because people suck. He's made a great game, and even though there's these little like balance issues and stuff, I never thought the game was going to be this good.
No, I agree. I thought the game was going to be dog water, and it turned out to be fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I understand he is an emotional guy, and he's dedicated his entire life to this for the last 6-8 years. And like he probably sees hundreds, if not thousands of comments where like, can't get more than 3 wins with Vanessa, uninstalled your terrible game. Like you just get thousands of comments of people that don't know what they're talking about, just shitting on the game. And everyone comparing it to like, Hearthstone. They're like, oh, it's like backpack battles, in Hearthstone. That's probably just annoying for him to hear, but I even still use those analogies as like trying to describe it to somebody. But he's probably going through a lot of negativity, so I understand it. Still, his job after making millions of dollars off his community is to be a professional, in my opinion. But
At the end of the day,
everyone's allowed to be human.
Raynad is who Raynad is.
Yeah.
His personality is what made him a popular streamer. If you expect him to change overnight just because he's a game dev now, that's ridiculous. That's on you for expecting him to change.
100%.
So, but one thing I did want to touch on that is personal attacks. People are making lots of personal attacks against him, like really fucked up. Don't do that. The other thing was you were talking about people who make really bad takes on the game. I missed the target, so you can just move forward.
Oh yeah, but yeah. Point is, Raynad's Raynad. I actually got nothing negative to say about him at all. I think he's human, and part of being a streamer is that your natural, real personality is what draws people to you. And so he is that. Whether or not he's the game developer making a post. I'm sure a recorded video would be a little more weighted, but when he's just live streaming doing Q&As, he's going to have some bite to him. That's all. And I honestly think that's a little more enjoyable because it shows maybe a little bit of defensiveness, but also definitely some passion because he does care about the game a lot. I'd rather have him that than aloof, just being like, whatever, maybe it'll work out.
Well, you never have to worry about him lying to you. He's going to tell you his real opinion regardless of what you want to hear. And that's kind of cool to get from a game dev because normally you just get a bunch of PC answers and we're not really going to engage in the negativity and stuff. And he's going to be like, no, that's stupid. Don't say that. Like,
so let's put some developers on blast. We'll put Blizzard. All right. And on the other end, because this is what I'm thinking about right now, we'll put Grinding Gear Games with their transparency and honesty. Grinding Gear Games makes Path of Exile. Blizzard makes Diablo 4. Raynad is much closer to the Grinding Gear Games approach, where he's genuine and honest. And if someone makes a suggestion, he doesn't go like, we'll look into it. We'll see about it. He'll be like, that fundamentally doesn't work, and you don't even understand why it doesn't work, so we're not doing that. It's a bad idea. He won't lie just to say they'll implement them, because like he's doubled down on pretty much there's people that things push back on, such as matchmaking, and he's basically doubled down and saying we're not doing it, and these are the reasons. Because our goal, I believe Lolly had actually watched the video and he's been telling me about it, but basically it was that people like winning, and if there's no matchmaking, like you have a higher, by getting better at the game. In most games, as you improve, your win rate doesn't actually increase. You just increase your rank. And as your rank goes up, you're still going to be around roughly 50-50. Where if there's no matchmaking, like in the Bazaar, as your skills go up, you'll actually get more wins. So you'll win a higher percentage of your games because you're still going up against the average player. You're going up against the skill base of the overall community, as opposed to individuals that are basically queued up against you. But he talked about a lot of stuff. Do you have anything to add to that point as well about matchmaking?
Yeah, so I think you nailed the matchmaking part. He compared it a lot to like Fortnite, right? People loved the fact that Fortnite had no matchmaking,
Hmm.
and everybody who makes content looks like a freaking god. And same thing in not Hearthstone, in this game, the Bazaar, right? If you watch Platt's videos, how many of them has he posted where he doesn't have 10 wins, right? Or anybody else who's making these videos,
Yeah,
right?
very, very
So
few.
the
Yeah.
reality is everybody gets to look like gods, and if you go on their stream, it's not going to be much different because they're probably getting a high percentage of 10 wins, right? So you might see their occasional 7 or 5 run dually run because they got absolutely screwed or whatever. But reality is people who play the game for hours and hours and hours, they improve at the game, they're better than the general player base, and they get to be rewarded for that through getting more wins.
Yeah. Well, I mean, while we just are kind of past the topic, Raynad played, I believe, on stream as well, right? So this was after he was being kind of condescending, basically. You were saying about how if you can't beat a build, or if poison and burn are strong, yes, but you just got to counter it by going with like one hit KO builds. And then he proceeded to play what 4 games, and he never hit 7 wins in all of those games, and he went 4 wins, 2 wins, 4 wins, 6 wins. So none of those were particularly anything under 7 wins. I would say is a non-ideal performance. Anything above 7 wins, I'm like that. I'm okay. I'm happy with that. At least I got to 7. Um, what about that? So was that true? He was basically trying to coach people on the game, and he's the creator of the game, and he kind of got stomped by just the meta in general.
Yes. So he plays in a different patch server that has like some changes in it, but he still plays your builds. So I don't know if his version of the game that he's playing is just stronger than ours, or like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that could be going on, right? But he
Hmm.
did say that there's a bunch of bug fixes that are correct in his game that aren't in ours because he's kind of playing like the PBE patch, but he gets to play our ghosts.
So
So
he
it is
gets to play the
cool.
ghosts, but the interactions could be slightly different in a way
It
because
could be slightly different.
the
So
ghosts are loaded. Just their ghosts are probably just loaded. They see what items that ghost player had, they just load them up and they play it with his version of the game.
yeah, I don't really know exactly how it works, but he's been winning in that version with,
Hmm.
whatever kind of builds the way the game is in his mind meant to be played, right? He sees a cool item, he builds around it, he's able to get 7+ wins, right? So like that's kind of what the goal of the game in his mind is. Not that you get 10 wins every time, because that's not the point of the game in his mind, right?
Of
It's if you
course.
want to play cool, fun stuff, you can get 2 chests every time. And I think that is a great game,
No
right? And then
player
if you want to
wants
try
10 wins
hard,
every game, even. You'll get bored and you will think the game is too easy, and eventually some people are so narcissistic, I guess maybe they could overlook that. But for the most part, you will get bored of the game if you get 10 wins every single time, all the time, no matter what you do. That's not what the game wants.
absolutely. So, it was really funny to see him say like, you can't force builds. Well, you can, but it's not the best strategy, right?
Yeah.
And if you just play the counter builds, if you know everybody's playing Poison Dooley and whatever, then you can actually just beat them by playing the counter to that. And of course, everybody who saw that immediately was like, well, the problem is that the counter builds aren't as consistent, so you won't hit them as often, and therefore you will lose to the thing you're trying to counter because you didn't actually hit the build you're trying to play. And then he went on and had that exact kind of issue, right? So he was
Yeah.
playing some cool builds, doing fun stuff, not getting 7 wins, and it was really validating to see, as all of us have played the version of the game that we're forced to play. Have run into that issue, at some point where you're like, I just really want to play fun stuff and do whatever, but then I get stomped.
And it's also like to kind of push back against what he said there as well. There's a difference between the builds are the counter builds to poison are a lot of like one hit KO stuff, right? Because like they build it up, you just deal 3,000 damage, they're dead. But like these builds have different tempos. Poison and burn and stuff, especially in the current patch, can come online very fast. You're not doing one shot damage on day 1, 2, 3 like ever. Like you're just not doing that much stuff. Even with a silver beast of burden, you're gonna take till about day 4 until it scales enough. So that's a issue. So the fact that they could tempo out their builds so fast means that they still, if they don't usually, but they still have the ability to abandon it halfway through the run, pick up some large items for different builds, scale some different stuff while just having such a powerful early game build if they don't want to dedicate into it. Whereas you have to keep going all in on this build, the one-shot build, the entire game, because if the second you stop going all out on your Beast of Burden build, suddenly you're not one-shotting them and you're waiting 20 seconds for that second hit, and it just doesn't work. So yeah, the tempo cost needs to be considered when they're considering builds and counter builds and stuff like that. A build with higher tempo that can come online very early should have, like, a Crook is a good example, but it's also a powerful example. Crook can come online very quick, but its ceiling is lower than most other builds that exist. Like day 14, Crook is not doing much, you know, but I still think it should be nerfed. But the point is, high tempo builds should have lower ceilings in general, I think, to kind of compensate for it. But yeah.
And the issue is most of these burn and poison builds, they only get better over time. So you get to day 14, 15, 16, it's almost all. I don't know if you would see anything else. I really don't make it that far into the game. I either die before that or get my 10 wins, because I go all in on winning the first 3 days because I don't think it's viable to not do that. I used to do a lot more like investing in my future, but then I would lose. So I just stopped doing that.
Yeah, it's just the way you got to play now is more tempo. And again, like this is all kind of unimportant. Even like again, the Raynad mentioned it, that balance doesn't matter. I don't know his exact terminology, but the understanding is that current balance doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, the game is not currently balanced in a way that he is happy with. However, his argument basically is that they're adding a bunch of stuff to the game still, right? They're adding more events, they're adding more characters, and that they think they could fix the balance before the game comes out. But right now, spending time focusing on balance is taken away from development time of making new stuff for the game. Which I understand and I totally agree with. Like, yeah, the more you spend on balance, the less you're spending on other stuff because you have the same amount of people. I am also of the mind, I do not yet see how he is going to, they're not ignoring the balance, but I don't see how they're going to fix the balance by the time the game launches, because I don't think characters are getting a lot more cards. So individual character mechanics, I think, are supposed to be. So I think they're addressing core mechanical issues without worrying too much about the specific numbers on specific things while trying to make new content, which I think is the right decision. I'm not sure how well they're going to be able to balance it before launch, but we'll see. As long as they keep making balance changes on a weekly basis, then it means I'll never want to take more than a week off of the game because I'll come back to see the new patch. And if it's something really fun, I'll play it a bunch. If it's something that I'm like, I think they really missed the mark on this one, I'll play a couple days and then I'll wait for the next week patch, you know?
Yeah, and even though like the game hasn't always, it's had dips and flows and how good it's felt, all the changes that they've made on like the wide scale, so he also said somewhere else that, like, you know, most people that make games, they like to put out like 2 or 3, maybe 5 changes that are really well oiled and work great. And he says we throw 100 darts at the wall, and if 95 hit, then we're happy, right? So he knows there's going to be some big misses every single time, but they've done hot fixes most of the time, not always like on the stuff that's problematic. But when we look at the trajectory of not individual balance, but of game mechanic balance, right? And like it's moved in productive directions, right? So
Yes.
we no longer immediately lose 1.7 seconds into the game, right? I like more diverse level up options. I, like you said, big W on being able to like upgrade bronze and silver items because it feels like you're able to get stronger while not committing all in on a single build, and also not getting diamond items too early.
I think
It's a lot of weird, really good stuff.
yeah, they're the kings right now. Their balancing team is the absolute king of like 3 steps forward and 1 step back. Like they are doing so many, if we look back at every patch they've ever done, there's been some core changes that I've loved, right? Like the way they've kind of adjusted level ups from the first until the way they are now, the way that like they've expanded the amount of items you can get on the starting day, getting rid of the skills. Most of anything that they've actually adjusted like mechanically as the overall rule system of the game, I think has been, besides maybe like pushing back some of the merchants, but it's been like good and it's been right directions. But then it's like it's always some item that they were just like, what the fuck? Like bees are just insane, and they never even got rid of bees. Like it's currently removed from a bug apparently, but it's like they'll add like like you said, 100 darts, slide 100 changes, and 3 of those changes are like, what the fuck was that, bro? It completely warps the whole game around it. But what I think is important to focus on is all the wins that they have, and again, the big core underlying, not just simple numerical values. Like how, like this patch I've had almost no fun with, and I'm not playing, all right, because I think it's so oppressive. Pig is so weak and burn and poison is so strong. But I love how all these items got changed from triggered abilities to like charge abilities. This is a fundamentally good change for the game, I think. And I think that this is a hugely important patch for improving the overall feel of the game once the outliers get pushed in. So the outliers are still out there, and they kind of affect the closed beta in a more extreme way than I want, because I think they're more comfortable just making changes without testing them. And then I am pretty confident, because again, their balancing has been fantastic with those with the exception of the outliers. It would be the best balanced team I've ever seen, you know?
Yeah, and they could have definitely taken way more time, but they would have never been able to push out as many changes. This patch notes was just crazy. They took the risk of almost reinventing half the game. That's how it really felt the first couple days I played this, and yeah, it was a wild change. Like even things like Borear, remember how it's like no one fights Borear because his loot's garbage and half of it doesn't sell for anything and no one wants a Piggle. And then all of a sudden they redo it and they give him a bunch of items that are actually worth getting, right? He's got a bunch of weapons now, but you can't beat him because he's too strong. But yeah,
That's why, like, I never fight Borear because he's always too fucking strong. Like if he could show up on day 3, I'd fight him, but day 2 or whatever, I'm like, fuck you. Like if the burn builds can't burst him down, and like aggro Vanessa can't burst him down, I don't know who's beating Borear, man. That guy is Lich 2.0. Like he's about as strong as Lich is, but comparatively day 2 to day 4, Lich is probably still stronger. But it's like, I would love to fight Borear. Yeah. Overall, well, let's talk about. We're still talking about Raynad. You're right. I was going to go back to balance. So one of the things we've complained about a lot, maybe complaints a strong word. One of the things we've criticized a lot is that, like, okay, right now there is a issue with unranked being unfun, you know, because unranked can fundamentally be unfun with the reroll issue, and then ranked is not sustainable for enough of the population. However, what it sounds like to me is that the game is currently going to have a different mode that is going to be basically a PvE mode where people will be able to play and earn rewards and then progress a battle pass and then maybe go into ranked and stuff if they want to do that as well. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I thought it was really important that he kind of wants to split the player base into competitive and non-competitive, whatever, you know. So if you play for fun, you never even have to go play against other real people. If you want to treat it like it's Slay the Spire or whatever, you know what I mean? You can just play that version of the game and enjoy, you know, getting the stuff off of the battle pass, and you can still have your little visual changes if that's what you want. And then you'll still get the free daily ticket. So that will tempt a lot of people to go play and try to get some chests just to get some different cosmetics. And they will get stomped, and they will probably just go back to the PvE version or whatever, you know what I mean? But they're still kind of like, even if I get stomped for my 1 free ticket, it's kind of like still worth it, because you could still get stomped to get 4 wins, you know what I mean? Like, I consider that being stomped, and if you get 4 wins, you get a chest, and if you get lucky and you hit a legendary skin, you're going to feel really good about yourself.
Yeah, I actually hope that they add a paid PvE mode with a different pool of cosmetics. Just to one, I don't care about the value of it. I just want players who don't want to play PvP but master the PvE in a sense, because they know the AI and they know their builds or whatever, to able to have something to flaunt. Like, oh, look at this, he has the legendary skin you can only get in the PvE mode. That guy, and then he gets destroyed in PvP, but man, we know if we go into his turf, he's the highest ranked elo PvE player. I'd love to see something like that. That might just be too much work, but that's why I think you make it paid. I think it would help, but I want to encourage people to play that again, just for more than just fun. But increasing the battle pass is a great step as well. Being able to get the battle pass and complete it.
everything in the game will be play to earn, right? So like you could, in theory, if you're a winning player, get enough gems to buy everything. So I don't believe I believe that means, I don't know for sure, but to me that sounds like Battle Pass. You'll be able to buy it with gems, which will be really nice because for those of us who have a bunch of gems, we're like, yeah, we don't have to throw any more money in the game. I will spend money in the game once it releases to just support the game, but not because like I need to or whatever. You know what I mean? I'll probably
Yeah.
have enough currency where that won't be a problem.
I don't even know. I have 173 chests, so I don't even know what's in there right now.
Well,
But
we did the math, right? And it was like something crazy like 8K is likely how much you
but
have.
I also have bought. I've lost gems in the last few weeks of playing, just because like I've been playing more. One, Pig's been bad comparatively, but also like I've just been doing more experimental stuff than normal. But in general, yeah, I mean, I bought 3 packs for the game as well, so it's not like I'm just positive 8,000 gems, you know.
You
But
are positive 4,000 gems.
yes, which is a lot still. Um,
That's
but
more than me. I'm just throwing it out there.
I will also be playing, buying stuff in the game once it comes out. I'll use my gems for some stuff, and other things I'll probably just buy with cash because I like the game, you know. I'm not going to go crazy, not like in my Girls Frontline 2. That game you got to go hardcore to attract those ladies. But I will absolutely be supporting this game as well.
So just to like close up in these last like 10 minutes, no fast forward option is going to be added because he believes it's going to make clips and videos look bad because he believes streamers would use it. I don't think streamers would actually use it, but I do understand the second caveat he made, which was people who are sweating are going to fast forward through everything in order to play more games. So people who are streaming will be at a disadvantage versus the people who just play offline and just do that.
Also, there's that functionality is already in the game in a sense. You could just log out, log back in, and your fight will be over. You just don't get to watch it. So I think it's fine to not add it because I think the game is visually engaging enough to like just enjoy. Like it's fun to watch your build work. While at the same time, it's also fine that I don't want them to patch like whatever. Like if you end a fight, it restarts the fight or something like that. Like I'm okay with people like ignoring the fights because sometimes like I go up against a PvE encounter. I'm like I could beat this guy. It's something like Borear, and then I'm like 2 seconds into the fight, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? This guy's gonna destroy me, but it's gonna take 30 seconds. So I've logged and relogged in. I've never skipped a player fight, but I do skip PvE fights that I could see that I'm gonna lose. And then sometimes I win, and I was like, what? Damn it! How'd I win? I should have watched it. But yeah, overall, I think that's a pretty good. I'm totally fine with them not adding a fast forward option.
Day 1 and day 2 are like PvE fights is probably where I'm like, I feel like you don't have to watch those. They're boring.
Yeah,
like
100%.
But outside of that, perfectly fine with it. Unfortunately, because of the level of consistency he wants, he can't have skip or fast forward on the first 2 days and not on later days.
They would have to just remove the PvE fights on day 1 because they're all guaranteed to win essentially. But then
not anymore. They changed. They gave them more skills and changed the numbers. You can now lose against everything.
No way you could lose against Banana. How strong did they make Banana?
With an empty board, I believe it's technically possible to lose against everything other than probably Banana. I think you're right.
Okay, yeah, because I could lose the Viper. Viper just does the poison, right? Because the poison eventually gets pretty strong.
Viper always used to kill you. Even if you had a bad item, you could still die.
Yeah.
But now, if they get lucky on crits, the dog can kill you. Right? It has 4% crit chance.
Okay.
It has to crit like something like 5 times to kill you, but it can do that technically. And the fire guy, if you have nothing on your board, he will kill your ass. And who else is there?
Did they buff the fire guy? Because he only did 1 fire damage every 3 seconds, which was enough to do 1 damage every 3 seconds.
Yes. Okay. And of course, by giving him a skill that gives him +1 fire damage, it now does 2 damage, so it's like twice as good. Well, actually, I think it's 3 times as good.
Yeah, because it does 2, 1, and so it does 3 damage every 3 seconds instead of 1 damage. Yeah, Okay, I mean, I like those changes for the most part. They were a little too easy, a little too boring. What were a couple of the other highlights? Oh, 10 card packs. That was one. They basically scaled it back. They were going to do 20 card packs for each character, and they decided they're going to do 10 card packs. I don't know what the change was. They must have come up against a workload issue, I assume. Where there it is like, hey, because I assume they already have a couple 20 card packs made in terms of design. But maybe they're like, all right, well, let's double the amount of time we have to release more packs. So let's break these up into 2 separate packs. I'm hoping that the first packs that were designed maybe initially as 20 card packs aren't going to be like really clunky. Like there feels like they're missing supporting things. But other than that, I mean, it's a little bit of a bummer, but is it really a big bummer? No. I mean, I'm not really too concerned with it. If they went down to 5 cards, I'd be like, well, why are you even adding these? I'm never going to see these items. But what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think the difference between 10 and 20 cards is going to be super impactful, and I'm sure when it comes to cost, right, they'll just split the cost in half of what they were planning on doing. So if you have a 100 card pool and you now have 10 more, right, you have something like a 9%, chance of hitting the stuff that you didn't know. Of course, it does depend on what the rarities are of those things, right, and what typings they have and all that kind of fun stuff. But
Yeah, I'm hoping Burn Pig gets one more burn item, 1 or 2 more burn items, something just to add a janky weak burn build instead of a 1 in 1,000 burn build that is janky and weak. Make it a 1 in like 10. Anything else that he talked about that was super important?
Mac is going to be at launch now, right? So we
Yeah.
originally were going to get him like right around now. We would already have Mac based on the original timeline, and then we pushed everything back a month because it was going to be when we went to open beta. And now instead of at open beta, Mac will be at launch.
And that
Launch
is
right now
that's a reference to not
is
the operating system, but the character, the alchemist named Mac. I just wanted to be very clear.
yes, yeah. Because if you're watching this and you don't know, um, then I have no idea why you're watching. But, um, all right, so the last one I think that we have is Legend is a placeholder, right? So like the whole Elo system and the garbage, and we've complained about it, and we've complained about what was the thing we were talking about last week?
There was the pay to win where you could re-roll on day
Yeah,
0 for
yeah,
$1 to not lose
yeah.
elo.
And now I don't care about any of that because if that's not the system in the future, who cares, right?
Yeah,
Like
then
focus on other things, focus on getting us the open beta sooner so there's more pubs to stomp. But I'm just really excited for the future of the game. I'm excited for tomorrow's patch that we have no information about. Let me just go double check that there hasn't been patch, or at least the word patch notes, because this could just be visual stuff. We have no idea, but there will be downtime.
I'm hoping they
Ooh,
make
well,
a few adjustments.
yeah. So it doesn't say anything, but there was server issues while we've been streaming. So that's good because um,
It meant we
we
weren't
would have,
playing.
well, I
Yeah.
would have been playing the game. It doesn't really affect Platypus because he would be playing Path of Exile. But I'm too bad at those kind of games. I enjoy, like, I've enjoyed watching a couple people play it and kind of just checking out how the game works. But yeah, all my
You
friends played RuneScape in
you
high
would like
school.
it, other than the mechanical skill of it, because it's very obviously just it's spreadsheets. You could have Chat GPT build your build, and I bet it would do a better job than me. So uh, overall, yeah, that game's been a lot of fun. And honestly, Bazaar is, just because I haven't had fun this week, I'm not like a doomer for Bazaar. I think it's a fantastic game. I love it. I just think the balance of this current week, and is this why I'm not on here just shitting and flaming the game? Like, this game sucks. I just didn't enjoy it this week. And I have a philosophy. I try not to complain about games when I'm not having fun with them. I just play a different game that I'm having fun with. And so when this game has a little bit of adjustment, I'll come back and I'll try it. And if I'm having even half as much fun as I was in those first 3 weeks, then I will continue to be playing this all the time. But yeah, you may not see as many YouTube videos on the channel the next week until we see some more adjustments. But hopefully me and Lolliette can make a couple more of these. I had to call out of work just to make this one today. So tomorrow's his job, his turn.
Yeah, no. we love making the videos, and once again, we did a good job of describing why Pig was so bad in this patch. And the reality is, when you have a game that has different characters, which are kind of like their own individual different games, and then you just make one of them bad, there's going to be a percentage of the player base that's either their favorite character or the only one that they really, play, and that kind of ruins the experience for them. So
Yeah,
it just
like
is what
as
it is,
Pig,
and
I
that's
have
how it's
no
made.
problem beating the PvE encounters. He's strong enough in the context of the game's mechanics. He's not strong enough when it comes to once you add the variable of another player playing someone not Pig. That's when his kit kind of falls apart. But every other hour, he feels like a great character. His overall kits make sense and they feel strong. I still think he needs to have a little bit more early game support for value scaling of items in terms of making that into a combat mechanic. But they did do that. They added a rewards card in the opener, which is fine, but it's a pretty weak start because it's an item where you get it and you're like, oh, I'm going to scale something to get more power in the late game for my skyscraper, which means you have an item that does no power and you're encouraged to sell it because it generates a lot of money, but you don't actually want to sell it because you want to kind of hold that value. So typically what you do, you just put it on like something you're going to sell and then just keep the card itself because the card generates its own value. That's not important. I'm just talking about like I think it could use a little bit more support. It needs something, a second jewelry style item, another fixer upper style thing that cares about property value,
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I don't have anything else to add. I think we've talked about everything we needed to talk about, unless you have any more final closing thoughts.
No. So, once again, I've loved the patch as somebody who couldn't play Dooley before. Dooley being so good forced me just to learn Dooley. So I've really enjoyed. Like now, I feel I'm confident and I'm competent. I'm also confident with all three characters and ranked. So. Depending on, of course, how they nerf and change things, but assuming that we get a patch, soon, then I think I can actually start alternating the characters, kind of like how Crypt does, which is cool because not too long ago I was a solo Vanessa player and I could only win with Vanessa. So I've enjoyed learning those additional pieces of the game.
I've been doing decent as Vanessa when I play her. Aggro Vanessa is just pretty powerful and pretty simple to run. But I'm not like for the other characters, I'm still not like when I play Pygmalion, I'm like in a pool. I'm like floating around. I'm like, oh, what's that over there? Let's go look at that. And then I start building this stuff. I'm kind of floating in his items and I kind of see what's good. When I'm playing Vanessa, I'm like beelining. I'm like, there's a thing. There is the double barrel shotgun. There is okay. It's like I'm looking for specific things to make it work, and I'm not adaptable, right? I'm kind of going in with an idea and trying to execute that idea. So I am gonna start playing more other characters, but I still want to wait for a balance patch because I don't want to be the guy trying to play I don't know, freeze dually and a poison dually meta. It's just like it's probably not going to be a good first experience when that version of the character is so much stronger than the other versions.
Yes, and I did want to remind you that they changed bees and you never got a chance to play it. So bees is now back to every single bee fires, right?
Yeah, you're right, but only on
Anytime.
weapons.
I don't even know. We would have to look at the patch notes
Okay.
because I also never got a bee before it got a hotfixed. So
Dang. Well, they broke my favorite item. Good job, guys. No, thank you for bringing Yo-Yo back. I think Yo-Yo should scale from charge it 1 second, 2 second, 3 like gold. I think it should charge like 4 or 5 seconds maybe to make it. I guess 3. It's not that much different over 3 seconds, but it's a little bit. I think, and then at diamond, it could be like its old self almost. Like it charges 6 seconds every time you use an adjacent item. I think that'd be kind of fun, but maybe it's totally good enough right now. I just kind of miss old Yo-Yo.
So.
You don't think
Well, it might be good enough, but it's no longer like super strong, so like we don't like that.
Yeah.
But lastly, we have a giveaway.
That's right. Did you pick a winner? All right, we are going to pick our giveaway winner. Neither of us forgot. We remembered. We were just holding it till the very end. So we hit start, and our winner is Chadius Thaddeus. So freeze can be solved pretty easy. It's a hard CC, so just implement CC immunity in some way, shape, or form. I don't know what would be better to have, and it's a longer comment, but you are a winner of our giveaway.
Here's the winner.
Reach out to us on Discord, or we will reach out to you on YouTube. We'll figure it out. We'll get you your prize. So Yeah, that's all for this week, though. Any closing thoughts, Laliette?
Freeze!
It's Team Rocket blasting off again. All right, much love for platypuses per platypus. I'll see you on the flip flops. Bye.
On the rise, watch the views go.